Talking about Nephi Sewell and his draft stock, Makai Cope, and what he hopes to bring to the Utes football team next season, and the newest addition to Utah men's basketball, all in today's episode of Locked On Pac-12 podcast.
You are Locked On Pac-12, your daily podcast on the Pac-12 Conference. It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to another episode of Locked On Pac-12 podcast, where we give you everything you need to know about the Conference of Champions. Thank you so much for making a Locked On Pac-12 podcast your first listen every day. I'm your host, Cindy Robinson, former Pac-12 student athlete. And joining me today is Austin Facer. He is the Locked On Utes host. I hope you guys have been tuning in. It's been how long now? 2 weeks?
About a week, maybe
Okay.
I guess a week and a half.
About a week. Okay.
Time's a flat circle. It's hard to tell. And I'll just mention to the audience that I'm also a Pac-12 student. I wasn't an athlete. But
Love that.
Love that. About as half as qualified as you are, I guess.
Okay, give us your breakdown. Where did you attend? Did you go to Utah?
I'm a Utah grad.
Okay.
Utah grad, 2016. Straight C's.
You know what they say, C's get degrees. It's all good.
I'm the embodiment of that for sure.
It's okay then. It's all good. We're here. Got the degree right. Yeah. And now you can talk about Utes.
Yeah, it's paid off bountifully for me. Yeah,
there we go. There you go. Well, Austin will be joining us from time to time to talk about Utah sports. I know we used to have Brian on a lot, but Austin is going to be a great replacement. Obviously, we miss our friend Brian, but got to move forward. Yes, we do. Don't say that.
Brian Brown is a traitor, if you ask me. I love Brian. But yeah, no, it's good to be here.
Okay, we're so glad to have you here. All right, so let's dive right in. Football is obviously one of our lovely favorite topics on the show, and even when we're not in season, we're still finding a way to talk about it. So one of the things we've been doing is our little draft analysis segment, and today we're going to talk about Nephi Sewell, a really big name, I would say, coming out of Utah, right behind Devin Lloyd, and honestly, there's so much to be said about him. One of those things being said, his pedigree, the line of his family line that he comes from, brother Penny Sewell, and there's Noah Sewell, right? Am I missing any more? Because I was going to say.
You probably are, but yeah,
you know,
it's a big football name, the Sewell name, for sure.
Yes, for sure. Okay, I want to know, Austin, while these players are moving to the next level, what is it about Nephi that will make him a top draft pick in this NFL draft?
Well, I think, to a certain extent, the last name certainly gets a lot of attention. I think guys I think people in the NFL like guys who have a family history of success. And, I think that's always kind of an easy sell right off the bat, being the brother of Penny Sewell, who was the 7th overall pick in 2011, is definitely not going to hurt Nephi's draft status at all. But I think some positives that are going to help him at the next level. Coaches rave about his versatility, his athleticism. He obviously coming out of St. George in high school, he went to the University of Nevada, played running back there, switched to linebacker at the University of Utah. Also played safety at Nevada, I think. So he's a guy who's played multiple positions at the college level, and I think that kind of range of experience is something that's definitely going to be a plus in the minds of NFL scouts.
All right. I always am curious. It's this one thing I told you we probably weren't going to talk about, but now I'm going to pick your brain about it. When it comes to trying to play the guessing game about what teams he would go to, instead of doing that, what teams could, if off the top of your head, maybe one or two, because we're not an NFL show, could maybe utilize him. I'm not sure. Do you keep up with the NFL?
Not as well as I should, yeah.
Okay, it's okay. Okay.
I heard I'll break this up. I'll say Super Bowl.
They did. I was gonna say, let's break this up. Let's say, what kind of system do you feel like Nephi Sewell would fit?
Well, he's gonna have to be flexible. I think what scouts are saying is, whereas I don't want to use the word run to the family, but he's certainly smaller than his brother Penny. Penny Sewell was, is 6'5", 330 pounds. He's offensive tackle. He's a huge guy. Nephi is not a physically imposing guy. He's 5'11", about 220 pounds. So he's going to have to probably explore playing different positions. I think he's not going to be a threat against run coverage. He's really going to probably thrive more as someone who plays a zone defense, someone who can come in and late downs, long yardage situations, and defend the pass a little bit more. I think that's where you're going to see Nephi be effective in the NFL. I think he certainly is going to have a chance to make an impact on special teams as well. But he's not going to have the immediate splash that I think his brother has enjoyed. He's going to have to really fight his way out to get significant playing time for an NFL team.
And that happens. I feel like that's not the worst of the worst. I feel like getting in the door matters more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
May not be a first round draft pick here, more like a day 3 guy, but still a name you should look out for. You never know what can happen in the next level.
Anything can happen. Tommy Brady went like 199, right? So who the heck knows?
Literally. There's so many superstar stories of people going undrafted and making a name for themselves. So it's really not where you start. It's just kind of what you do when you get there. So, yes. Definitely. Coming up next, we'll talk about Makai Cope, someone who's actually currently on the Utes team, and just what he plans to do with the future. Well, we'll say the future of this team, but next season. All right, you guys, this is that time of year that most people pretty much have given up on their New Year's resolutions. I'm trying hard to stay strong about eating healthy, and one way I'm doing that is Built Bars, okay? Built Bars are the best tasting protein bar out there. Take my word for it, and even if you don't, there's a bunch of other people you can take word for it. Either way, Built Bars are a protein bar that are covered in 100% real chocolate, literally taste like candy bars. They have this other variation of one. It's called a puff, and it's literally a marshmallow protein-infused bar. They're fluffy, they're marshmallowy, and they're not just a protein bar, they're a treat. And again, covered in 100% real chocolate. You really can't get anything better than that. All Built Bars are low in calorie, low in sugar, low in net carbs, and high in protein. Obviously, best part about it, comes in different flavors as well. Mint brownie, coconut almond, white chocolate, cookies and cream, and so many more to choose from. So why don't you go ahead and head on over to built.com and check it out for yourself. You can use the promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off your order. That's promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com.
So I got to tell you, here in Salt Lake, we have billboards for Built Bars all over town, driving around Salt Lake. Yeah. And these puffs are like distractingly delicious looking when you're driving in your car. I can't believe I haven't been able to lock down a bar, but yeah, these things look crazy good.
We got to make sure you get some. We'll make sure that happens. We'll for sure make sure that happens. All right, thank you all for making Locked On Pac-12 podcast your first listen every day. Now for a big announcement, starting Thursday, April 28th, tune into Locked On NFL Draft's live coverage of the 2022 NFL Draft, with all 3 days of real-time analysis from our extensive lineup of experts and insiders. And for those of you dying to know who your team will take, catch Odyssey and Locked On NFL Mock Draft, special hosted by Brian Peacock and former scout Matt Williamson of the Peacock and Williamson NFL show, all week leading up to the first pick. You guys can check out Locked On NFL Draft live on the Locked On NFL Draft YouTube page on April 28th, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, April 29th, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and April 30th, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And then you can check out the Odyssey NFL Mock Draft on the Odyssey and Locked On NFL Draft podcast feeds. And that will be on April 18th and the 22nd and the 25th. Okay, so one of the things that, I'm super excited about next football season is seeing what the Utes do, especially after the amazing season they had this past season. Not only turning because they started off kind of rocky, right? First,
very rocky. Yep.
It was like a little don't know if this is
a little bit more than it was like
right. But they quickly turned that around with my Washington State Cougars being one of their victims. I'm not gonna get a little worked up about that one, but it's okay. We'll get our revenge
Yeah, sure you will.
We will. We will. Don't hate. Don't hate. Okay.
Yeah.
Either way, this is about the Utah Utes right now. But I'm really excited just to see what they do. I know that they're dealing with a situation where, they don't have all of their players returning like they did last season. But I still think they have the caliber of players to, if not repeat, still be one of the top contenders in the Pac-12. And one of those players looking to make an impact on the team is wide receiver Makai Cope. He was a freshman last year, right? That was his first season. But he only saw action in 2 games, and that was on special teams. And while, it's clear that they didn't really necessarily need his help, right? I feel like this season might be a different situation, and it's a chance for him to break out, become a contributor, and make a name for himself on his team. But also, it's a benefit to the fact that he's so young. There's at least, at the minimum, another year in the horizon for him after this season. So very excited to see what he does. Tell us a little bit about Makai Cope and what we should know about him as a player.
Yeah, well, first I think we should just mention what you touched on. Utah's not going to have their guys coming back, and especially they're going to be missing one guy who's been coming back almost every year for a decade in Britton Covey, who's obviously one of their premier threats as a wide receiver, was a great punt returner, kick returner, all that. It's interesting that he's not there anymore because, like I said, it feels like he's been there since the beginning of time, really. What that means is that there's going to be an opportunity for other guys to come in and shine. I think Makai Cope is definitely going to be one of those guys who's going to see an increased role. Obviously he only played in 2 games last year, like you said, but he's a 3-star wide receiver from your neck of the woods out there in Culver City. What he needs to do is just prove that he's a fast, reliable asset, can catch the ball. He's definitely going to have a chance to play. I think the depth chart is kind of wide open at wide receiver at this point, so he could rise very quickly.
I love that. I love when there's opportunities for the younger players to come in and make a difference because, look, we're looking for someone to step up. And more importantly, I feel like the earlier they're able to get that experience on the field, which is very rare, a lot of people redshirt or just get benched because the depth chart is so deep. Earlier they're able to get that experience, the more I feel like they're able to contribute to that team longer. A lot of with the option of leaving at your 3rd season and say you're not even playing your first, but you play that 2nd and then have a breakout year, and then that 3rd season you're just looking to maintain to get out. That quickly has only become 2, maybe a year and a half that you actually played for the team. And so one of Utah's strengths has been that veteran presence and having that experience. So while they're working with fresher, athletes this season, it'll just propel them forward moving, in the next coming seasons as well. For you, do you feel like Makai will be what this team needs for the next season? And I know not all on him, but just in the receiver position, because like you said, Covey was that veteran experience. And Makai kind of has the 1 year under his belt, being able to sit back and watch and observe, the team and the veterans that have now left. Do you feel like he'll be able to step up in that wide receiver room and be that, leader that the team needs?
Certainly, yeah, he's going to have every chance to. What if you just looking at the way Utah's roster is constructed, what their bread and butter is really going to probably be their running game. They have really good running backs. They have probably the most talented group of tight ends they've ever had on the roster. But to make all that work, you really need to have a threat on the outside. You need to be able to stretch the field, say, hey, we can pound it inside, but you also need to keep defenses on their toes with a guy who has speed and length and ability to go deep. Right now, I mean, like you said, that opportunity is there for someone to take. And Makai Cope is a guy who's 6'3" and a noted speedster. I mean, it's a great opportunity. I think he should be really excited about where he is on the team, the timing, where he is with his experience. He has every opportunity to break out this year.
Yeah, he's making sure that he really takes advantage of the opportunity. He knows the playbook through, like in and out, like
Mm-hmm.
thoroughly, you know,
Yep.
to the point where he's putting himself in the best position to where a coach can use him anywhere. One of the things he mentioned, he wants to work on his speed, but more than anything that stood out to me is that he has his eyes set on a big goal, not only to return to the Rose Bowl, but to make it to the national championship. And he has very lofty goals and thoughts that this team can make it. Now, we like to be real over here, you know what I mean? Keep things realistic.
Whoa, let's be fun.
But I'm also, I'm an optimist, okay? So I love to think big here. I'm all in for it. Even though I'm a Washington State Cougar fan, I think it's going to take us some time before we can get in those talks. So for you, are you that optimistic to think that Utah can take it to that next level?
You know, just living here in Salt Lake, it's hard to be overly optimistic. You know, some year, you know, we've heard this about Utah before, that you know, they're a dark horse to be in the college football playoff, that it's possible they could, it's likely they could. We've heard all these levels. I'm also a Utah Jazz fan. They do the same thing to us. You know, they say, oh, we're contenders this year, and then they absolutely just take a crap in our hearts. So just being the cynical, you know, hard-hearted Utah, it's hard for me to really embrace that. I think it's going to be another really fun year. That's where my expectations are. I don't want to get, if they exceed that would be great. Whatever that means, that would be awesome for the Utes. But you know, obviously they have Cam Rising coming back. It's not very often that Utah has a great quarterback returning to the team. It feels like, you know, they did have lost some key pieces in Devin Lloyd and Britton Covey, but the rest of the guys who are replacing them seem very competent, and there's enough depth on the roster to feel like they're going to be okay. I would say I'm open to it. I'm open to them going and playing for the national championship. If it doesn't happen, though, you know, it's not going to ruin my day.
I like that. Well, if it makes you feel better, Spencer and I both have Utah as one of the top contenders of the Pac-12, one of those teams to beat for sure. So, you know, you never know. There's a chance for sure. I'm gonna keep my hopes up.
they're gonna need to surprise me a couple times for that to happen. But hey, again, that would be great. I would be so thrilled.
Fair statement. All right, coming up next, Austin and I are gonna pivot to basketball and talk Utah men's team, the newest addition to the Utes. All right, you guys, with the ever-increasing numbers of makes and models, it's now impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts you need. So why endure often pointless or seemingly intimidating questioning and wait while the person behind the counter orders the parts on their computer, choosing the only brand their warehouse happens to carry? You have computers with access to rockauto.com at home and in your pocket. Save time and money when using Rock Auto. Why would you choose to spend 30%, 50%, even 100% more for the same parts from a chain store or car dealership? Rock Auto is a family business serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. They have reliably low prices for every customer and everything you could ever need, from brake parts, tail lamps, motor oil, and even new carpet. Go explore their easy-to-use website today to find the solution to your auto part needs. Go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck. Write Locked On in their How Did You Hear About Us box so they know we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com. All right, Austin, before I let you get out of here and wrap things up, I definitely wanted to talk with you about the newest addition to the basketball team. I know we just wrapped up basketball season. People probably aren't even thinking about the next season quite yet. But again, sports is year round. It never stops, you know? You always got to make moves. You always got to make moves to improve for the next season.
They pay the coaches and the staff up there enough. They should be thinking about it year round.
Agree. Okay, so the newest player to the team, I do not want to butcher his name, so I'm going to shorten it, which it has been shortened in the article that I was reading, so I don't feel bad. But his name is Wilguens Exacte Jr. He is actually from
Montreal.
There you go. So he's a Canadian, and I guess he was a part of the NBA Academy Latin America. That's what it says.
Yeah,
not quite sure. Very interesting. He is, let's see, his vitals. He is 6'6", 225-pound guard. So pretty tall, pretty big guy. The coach, Craig Smith, describes him as a tenacious player. He's very strong and athletic, and then he competes with great force on both sides of the ball and bringing the versatility the team needs. First and foremost, Austin, when it comes to Utah basketball and how they played this season, what do you feel like was one of the number one things they were missing?
I think what they were missing was what Craig Smith described of Exacte. They were missing guys who were athletic, who had the ability to play all 94 feet and make an impact. I was able to go to the Utah-Arizona game, and just the disparity between the guys who play for Arizona, the guys who play for Utah was incredibly apparent. And the Wildcats ran Utah right off the floor. So they really do need guys who can play with great speed, play with great athleticism, can defend well. And it seems like Exacte Jr. might be the kind of fit that they need. And it's encouraging to see Utah, score a pretty good commit because recruiting, I think, is really going to make the difference for them going forward. And that's something I've been kind of worried about with regards to Craig Smith. He did not come to Utah with a reputation as a great recruiter. So to see them grab a guy like this shows, hey, maybe they can fill out a good team, so to speak.
Yeah. He actually has a pretty nice resume so far. He's a 3-star shooting guard, and he joins the program, like I said, from NBA Academy, Latin America. But he also spent time at College Notre Dame in Montreal, and then he played for the Sun Youth Hornets, and he also played with the Under Armour Canada Elite team in the AAU circuit. So, yeah, I'm excited, I'm always excited for anything Pac-12. I feel like doing this podcast has made me more of a Pac-12 advocate. I always have been, mind you, but I used to be just solely for my Cougs, Then I went to grad school at USC, and that turned me into a little bit of a Trojan.
Oh, hey.
So,
humble brag. You slipped a little braggy.
I mean, everyone on the show already knows that about me. I just had to let you know,
well,
thank you. Had to put you up on it. But no, one of the things I do enjoy is just seeing how the teams develop, during this off season, because I feel like this is the time where you get better. And part of that is the recruiting. So like you said, not knowing that Craig Smith isn't really known for his recruiting, but he's doing the work now. I feel like I haven't really heard too much of the other basketball teams making moves quite yet. So it's nice to see him already thinking for the future and towards next season. I'm sure they're all working towards that, obviously, but we're seeing the actual moves being made here with Utah.
Well, I should mention they also had a pretty big score on their coaching staff today. They managed to persuade BYU assistant Chris Burgess to switch sides.
Okay.
And Burgess, obviously, has a Utah background. He played at Utah after playing at Duke for a couple years. He has a reputation of being a terrific recruiter. And I think for Utah, I think they probably were a little tired of seeing the top athletes in the state of Utah not even really give them a look, just go straight to BYU. I think Burgess could flip the switch on that. That's something that Utah Twitter was really excited about today, and I think it's a great coup. I think it seemed like it was a big chess move, maybe by the whole athletic department.
Yeah.
Because his daughter also plays basketball, and she signed with Utah. So I think it just kind of makes sense for him to get on campus too. He's going to get a big raise from what I hear.
I'm trying to decide if I would like that. Would I want my dad coaching?
No, of course you wouldn't. No,
I'm trying to get away from you, Dad. What's up?
Especially he'll be spending all that time in the basketball facility as well. Yeah,
literally,
that wouldn't be great for her, but it's good for Utah fans as well.
Oh, I'm sorry, daughter. I hope you find a way to still enjoy college.
Yeah. Her name's KJ, by the way. So she was a great high school basketball player here in Utah. But yeah, she signed with Utah. So
KJ, my thoughts and prayers go out to you, girl. Hopefully you find a way around it. No, hopefully Dad isn't too pressed about what she's doing and work.
Well, he's a dad, so
true. That is a fair statement. Like I said, thoughts and prayers, KJ. Nonetheless, though, okay, exciting times for Utah basketball, exciting times for Utah football, just exciting times for Utah overall, right? Excited. Go ahead.
As far as football goes, this is a golden era for sure, and
yes,
basketball has room to improve, so that's good.
Yes. Gotta get it more aligned with each other.
Right.
I think they're not the only school like that, though. Arizona has some work to do on the football side to match up to the basketball side. There's a little bit of that going on everywhere. Austin, thank you so much for joining us and giving
Pleasure.
us all the insight we need for the Utah Utes. We'll definitely be having you on again in the future. You guys can check out Austin Monday through Friday on Locked On Utes, wherever you get your podcast. And very soon he will be on YouTube as well. So be on the lookout for that. You can follow Austin at Austin Facer on Twitter. It is AUSTIN FACER. And then if you're watching on YouTube, you see it. It's right there for you. Oh, right there. Look, I had to figure out right there. And then make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe to Locked On Pac-12 podcast on YouTube. You can go ahead and listen wherever you get your podcasts at. And then you can follow along on Twitter at LO_Pac12. Thank you again so much for making Locked On Pac-12 your first listen every day. Now make your second listen Locked On NFL Draft. Ryan Tracy and former NFL cornerback Eric Crocker bring the NFL Draft to life every day with insight and analysis on college football prospects and NFL front offices. It's free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure you guys all continue to stay locked on Pac-12 on the Locked On Network.